We are gauging reaction from you, and we've been leading today with the government's plans to unveil a major overhaul of disability benefits. Now, this is going to happen tomorrow, and it certainly may be adapted because only the most severely disabled will be able to qualify for this, and there's a lot of push against this, isn't there?
There certainly is. Well, it follows criticism that the UK is overdiagnosing mental health conditions, with the number of people claiming disability benefits for anxiety and depression doubling in the past decade. Wes Streeting is the Health Secretary. This is what he had to say.
Should you be getting a PIP payment for ADHD, yes or no?
I think it very much depends on the nature of the condition and the severity.
ADHD, a
These things are a
PIP payment.
spectrum, so I think it very much depends. We are looking at this whole issue of eligibility, and we are looking at this whole issue of overdiagnosis because I am concerned that we have overdiagnosis of these conditions.
But with MPs already rebelling over the plans and the government backpedalling on proposals to freeze PIP payments, will they be able to push their reforms through? Well, that's a question for the Economic Secretary to the Treasury, Emma Reynolds, who joins us this morning. Good to see you this morning. Has there been a cabinet row over this? Because you appear to be at odds. You've got strong rhetoric there from Wes Streeting, but we're also hearing that that PIP freeze isn't going to take place.
Well, I'm not going to comment on media speculation, and there has been a lot of it in recent days, as you suggest. But the detail of our plans will be set out by Liz Kendall, the Work and Pensions Secretary, later this week. But we are determined to reform a failing system that is failing our young people. 1 in 8 young people not in employment, education or training. Nearly 3 million people of working age not in employment. As you would have just covered, we've seen a big increase in the numbers, and we are an international outlier with the only major economy whose employment rate hasn't recovered since COVID. So we are determined to reform the system so it stops failing people, but we will do that according to our values of equality and social justice, and we believe very much in the dignity of work. So those proposals will be set out in further detail by Liz Kendall later this week.
Emma, should you not be determined to look after sick people?
And we are, indeed. We set up the welfare state in 1945, and those with severe disabilities and the most vulnerable will be protected. We believe in the safety net, and we believe in helping those people.
You sound like a Tory government. I mean, you look at scrapping NHS England, cutting the aid budget, increasing defence spending, cutting winter fuel payments for pensioners. I mean, the row over WASPy women, and now cuts to benefits. I mean, it's the Labour Party, but it seems to be in Tory clothing.
I'm sorry, but I would totally disagree with that. We had a budget in October that raised 40... Well, let me set that out, and give me 2 seconds and I'll finish the end of my sentence. We have a Labour government that set out an ambitious budget in October, which is raising tax by about £40 billion. We are investing in our NHS and reforming our NHS because we were elected on a promise of change for the British people. We're going to get the NHS back on its feet, invest in our schools, recruit additional police officers. So we are not a Tory government. We're nothing like a Tory government. So I would refute those allegations. And with regard to social security reform, there is nothing progressive about locking that many people out of the labour market, because we believe in the dignity of work, and we believe in tailoring support to enable those people who can work to get back into work.
How are you going to incentivise young people back in work then? Because I'm sure you've seen the headlines of the Daily Mail and the Daily Telegraph this morning that 1 in 4 Gen Z are considering quitting the workforce entirely, and the majority of them are citing mental health concerns.
There has been and is a significant problem with mental health problems, and I think that does have its roots in the pandemic. But as I said, we are an international outlier, and more than 1 million young people not in employment, education or training. We've already established some pilots across the country to help young people, and it's about tailoring support and giving people the confidence to get back into work. So we will be setting out further details of that in due course, but it's a real focus for us in government.
Do you agree with Wes Streeting that Britain is over-diagnosing mental health conditions and people are just being written off?
Well, as Wes has said, we need to follow the evidence on this, but we have about 1,000 people every day claiming personal independence payments. That seems out of kilter with the prevalence of some of these conditions. We do need to help people and tailor their support, but we also need to look at the assessment system and see how that needs to be reformed. So yes, there are big problems here that we intend to solve, and as I've said, Liz Kendall will set out the package of measures in due course.
OK. Emma Reynolds, good to see you this morning. Thank you very much. Emma Reynolds is Economic Secretary to the Treasury. Thanks for your time.
Listening to that with the political editor, Christopher Hope, with this one, I thought Ellie put it very well, where she said this is a Labour government this is a Conservative government dressed up in Labour clothing.
I think, Ellie's right. I mean, to make that point to them, the aid cut, the civil service reductions, the Quangos, NHS England going, the winter fuel payment, they're not bringing back the cap, the two-child benefit cap. They appear to they've gone as far as they can maybe down that Tory route, because what they are not doing is the Tories wanted to cut the benefits bill by £12 billion by the end of the Parliament, while they're bulking at £6 billion, it seems, and tomorrow we may not get that freezing in the PIP benefit. She mentioned there, Emma Reynolds, of course, the Treasury Minister, about the tax increases they put in last budget in October. Well, that's what the Tories did too. The Tories ramped up taxes. So I think that comparison is exactly right. I'll go further and say maybe they're even putting on the clothes of Reform UK, because the cut to the aid budget and spending on defence, those are policies backed by Nigel Farage.
Are they trying to neuter the opposition with this?
They're moving right into the middle. They're moving right into the middle ground and challenging the challenger parties. Where do you go from here? So they're trying to push the Tories out to the right. The risk is, though, the further they go towards the centre, the right wing, which those policies are, it lets the Lib Dems take back support from them in other parts of the country. So it's risky for them.
And it upsets their backbenchers.
As you're hearing there. As you're hearing there. Now, these MPs are saying they're not being told enough. Again, we should hear tomorrow from Liz Kendall, who's the Benefits Secretary. She'll be setting out these plans. But as things stand, things need to be done. You've got this bill going up to 80 billion by 2028. It's gone up by 19.9 billion. I was struck, since before the pandemic, I was struck by a fact from PwC today. The UK is the only country with fewer people in work than before the COVID lockdown in 2020 in the G7 countries. The only country.
And why? I mean, would you care to speculate as to why that is?
Well, I mean, you look at what Wes Streeting they're saying, overdiagnosis of mental health issues. The big concern is this Gen Z group, born between 97 and 2012.
Yeah, but that's not going to change. I mean, I look at what's being done in policies that are being implemented in schools and the idea that counsellors should be placed in schools. That's not going to harden kids, it's going to soften them.
Maybe time for some tough love from the government to show, actually, is it right that you are allowing the ADHD and then people can get a PIP off the back of that? There's a big pushback now on Motability. Why do people who aren't physically disabled get Motability cars, a nice big car on the taxpayer? Yeah,
it's a policy that most people agree with. We're running our poll today, our question of the day, which we'll give you the result of after 3 o'clock today. And it's asking if you agree that this policy should be implemented. And 85% of you do agree with that. You say we should be harder on people who claim, all of which is tough if you are claiming and you need money and you need aid to get out into the world generally. What are you going to do if it's cut? Let us know. Have your say today. Christopher, thank you very much indeed.
Chris. And happy St Patrick's Day.
Absolutely. You look great in green.
Thank you.